Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are going to check out a very cool figure from a company we haven't actually taken a look at in quite a while. This is from Dinomania. If you can recall, it's probably been a few years now at this point, but I actually had reviewed quite a few of the Dinomania models, and I was actually a pretty big fan of them and their style. They have a very cool style because they're usually really large, but they also have that soft kind of squishy feel. However, at the same time, they also have normally a fairly highly detailed appearance and some nice looking paint jobs. And that's exactly what we have here, as we have a Compsognathus. Now, what's cool about this is you can very clearly see the design of this Compsognathus is based on the Jurassic Park type Compy. So what's cool about that is the fact that you can own a nearly life-sized version of a Jurassic Park-style Compsognathus. You can see it here in my hands. It's definitely pretty decently sized, as most Dinomania models usually are. I wouldn't exactly say it's, one-to-one scale. It's not quite that large, but you could absolutely, take this as like a younger version of a Compy, maybe approaching adulthood, but it's really cool. It also has almost sort of a Jurassic Park style Compsognathus paint scheme with the striping running down the body, but rather than greens, it has brownish tones for the body. And I do like that because if you recall back to Camp Cretaceous, we actually saw quite a few different paint variants. Well, I shouldn't say paint variants, but color variants of the Compsognathus in that show. So, maybe there is a brownish version. Who knows? Regardless, it looks super cool, and I'm beyond excited to actually have some new Dinomania models here to take a look at with you guys. I have quite a few others as well. Definitely psyched to have them back on the channel. You can see that we have this little tag. Well, it's not even little, it's a giant tag that goes around the body here, showing off the Dinomania logo right there. And we have all sorts of different species of prehistoric creatures there as you move through. You can see more as far as the tag goes, and if we actually turn it around without hitting anything with that really long tail, you can see here on the back it actually does say Compsognathus, and you have again the information on Dinomania, including their Facebook page as well as their website and phone number, so giving you some options as far as contacting them right there. But definitely excited to have this here, really excited to take a closer look at it with you guys, so let's jump to it right now. So starting up here at the head sculpt of the Compy, you can see it does contain some pretty nice looking detailing as I'm smacking things with the tail because the tail is so long. But you can see we've got the nostrils sculpted out up here on the tip of the snout. You can also take notice to the palate. You can see that we have a nice brownish tone for the upper part of the head, a nice light tone there for the lower part. Take a look over here at the opposing side. Get a look over here at what the head sculpt and everything looks like. You can see really nice, really smooth paint application. I like how we start out with a really dark brown up here, transitions very smoothly and naturally down to a slightly lighter brown. One thing I think that Dinomania is very good at is applying really nice realistic paint applications to their models. And you can also see that we always have like dark washes on the Dinomania line, which is another thing I'm a huge fan of. I just feel like it amps up the realism of their figures really nicely. You can see that the mouth is sculpted in an open position. We have the teeth sculpted out. They're a little bit sloppy as far as the paintwork goes, not perfect, and the teeth aren't super vibrant, but considering what this is, it's not meant to be a super impressive, highly detailed model. It is meant to be a really cool toy, basically. So you can't expect, the absolute most incredible, very specific paint job on something like this. So I think for what it is, it looks pretty good. You can also see that we have like a purplish tone there for the inside of the mouth. The tongue is sculpted out in there. You can see some detailing there on the inside of the upper side of the mouth as well. Again, nice purplish tone running through the entire mouth. You can see one thing that I also love about these models is the fact that you get glass eyes with them. And I feel like the glass eyes usually look really good on Dinomania models. This one included definitely has a really nice, quite highly detailed look to the eye area. And then, of course, having that glass eye look gives it that sort of genuine, realistic, wet look like you would want to see for an eye. As you move back, you can see the skin flap here of the inside of the mouth. You can also see there is a seam where the jaw is connected, and you'll usually find seams on these type of models, again, being that kind of, movable, bendable, squishy material. You can see we can move it all over the place. They just usually have those. As you move down the course of the neck, you can see some really nice variations of browns, also some nice looking skin texture. I really love the light brown as we move down, but I really am a big fan of the brown that we see up here. You can also see a nice striping begin to pick up here in the neck as you lead down. You can see that the lower part of the body, you have like a really nice looking skin texture up here, but as you lead down to the underside, it's more like creasing and stuff like that, like all kinds of like cracks and crevices for the skin texture, which is something that works well for a Dinomania model because again they apply those dark washes, so it really highlights the fact that you have all those cracks and crevices. As you move down, you can again see more nice looking skin texture, nice looking scale detail popping up here and there. Again, really smooth transitions. These were obviously painted with an airbrush. Moving down here into the arm, you can see that the arms are held out away from the body, pretty much straightforward, unfortunately pronated wrists, but when it comes to a Jurassic Park dinosaur, it doesn't normally matter, or at least I should say a Jurassic Park style dinosaur, because they often have pronated wrists. You can see the nails are painted with a black as well as you lead out there into the fingers. You can also see that we have, again, some muscle definition displayed in the arm pretty nicely, and the elbow as well is sculpted out quite nicely right there. You can also see the undersides to the hands look very good. As you lead back here into the stomach region, you can take notice to the fact that we have the rib cage shining through right there. Again, that dark wash really shows that off. There is also a seam in the midsection. Again, this is one of the most common places when it comes to this style of model to have a seam, because you do have to connect the models and stuff. You usually have a seam in the midsection. You can see the detailing here on the underside. Again, sports like skin wrinkles, skin creases, and stuff like that. We have a lighter tone for the underside of the compy. As you lead up, you can make out the hip bone right there, the spinal column as well, running along the back of the Compsognathus. Leading down into the thigh, you can see again a really nice amount of muscle definition shown off, and also quite a bit of color variation, as you have many different variations of browns moving through the course of the entire model. Leading down, you have these very nice, very thin, long legs that you usually see on a Jurassic Park style compy. You can make out the kneecap right there, a little bit of the calf muscle. And then moving down into the foot sculpt does have some scoots down the toes, some fairly nicely painted nails, again with a black. And then as you lead up here, you can again see that we lead out into the tail. You've got more kind of creasing and stuff as far as that detailing goes. And being a Jurassic Park style Compsognathus, you have an exceptionally long tail like you usually find, and I like that this almost like a reddish brown running along the top overtakes the entire tip of the tail as you lead out, just to add that last little element of flashiness. And of course the opposing side is going to look pretty much the same. There's not a whole lot of difference going on when it comes to the overall appearance of the body. It's almost in a neutral position, just kind of standing there, similar to the way it stands there and looks at the little girl at the beginning of the Lost World Jurassic Park. But it's really cool. Again, I am a huge fan of these Dinomania models. I just like the fact that they're so huge. I like the fact that they have those really cool looking paint jobs, the glass eyes. Everything about them is really neat. So I really wanted to get my hands on this compy for quite some time because I felt like it would be a really neat way to have a nearly one-to-one scale version of a Jurassic Park style Compsognathus that's, a little bit more durable, not one that, because the other ones that I have are like all resin models. They'll crack at the slightest bump, but you can see that this one, again, being very flexible, is a nice one to have because it's not the type that would get damaged easily, and it's definitely one that would be fun to repaint to actually give the Lost World Jurassic Park, or just in general Jurassic Park colors. But I do actually really quite like the brownish coloration overall. It definitely looks nice on the figure, so really, really psyched to actually have this now in my collection. As far as a size goes, for a length on our compy from the snout to the tail, I would say right around 22 inches or about 56 centimeters. So definitely pretty long. And if we turn it around and get a nice height here on the top of the neck, you're looking at just shy of 7 inches or right around 17, maybe even a little over 17 centimeters for a size comparison. There is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovisaurus, and Robert Muldoon from the Mattel Jurassic World toy line next to our Dinomania Compsognathus. And you can definitely see it sports a pretty impressive size overall, definitely quite nicely sized. Again, not quite one-to-one scale. I would say it's about half of that, but still really quite sizable as a whole, especially next to these figures right here. And here are 3 randoms with the Collect Day Dimetrodon, the Schleich Diabloceratops, and Safari LTDU Tyrannus. I don't have very many compy figures like this. That's one species that really doesn't get made very often, and even Mattel hasn't really produced a good one yet. They've just given us those really tiny ones that aren't that great. And the only others that I really have would be like the larger one-to-one scale ones, but they're kind of like in an awkward spot in my collection, so I don't really want to pull those out right now for a comparison. But hopefully you'll have at least some of these figures here that might help give you an idea of the fact that it is, again, pretty sizable overall. And here is a Mattel Dilophosaurus and Mattel Velociraptor here next to the Compy, again showing you that it's definitely quite large. Even if it's not fully, one-to-one scale, it's definitely a pretty decently sized Compsognathus. And then for one final comparison, we have the Extreme Damage T-Rex from Mattel, and you can see that with these two next to each other, they are pretty similar in length. I would say the Compy is actually a little bit longer than the Extreme Damage T-Rex, but they're fairly similar in size overall. Clearly not in body mass. The T-Rex would win that argument there, but not too far off as far as an overall size goes. So this Dinomania Compsognathus, the Jurassic Park style Compsognathus, is super, super cool. It's definitely one of the models that I had very high up on my want list as far as Dinomania releases go. Something that I really wanted to get my hands on, again, just because it looks so much so like a Jurassic Park style Compy. The sculpt is really well done overall as far as matching up to what Compies look like in the Jurassic Park franchise. So I always wanted one of them straight from the moment I had realized they had one available. I also wanted one because I know that the Dinomania line usually provides you with larger figures, so I knew it would be really cool to have a pretty sizable version of a Compy like this where it's actually flexible and very durable. The figure as a whole definitely has a really nice sculpt, again, quite nicely replicating what the Jurassic Park style Compies look like. Pretty nice looking detail throughout, but the one thing that is a little bit different about it is the fact that rather than the greenish color scheme we would see on a Jurassic Park style Compy, we actually have a brownish paint scheme on this, and the tones of brown used are actually really nice, very appealing to the eye, and very natural on the dinosaur as a whole. I could absolutely see this being like a female version of a Compy with the brownish coloration and the greens being more of like a male. We did see, again, quite a few different color variants of the Compies in Camp Cretaceous, so who knows, maybe there is a brownish Compy on there somewhere. Maybe I just didn't even notice it. But regardless, again, all of the paint application is really smooth, really nice and naturally applied, extremely naturalistic transitions between colors, and it's all tied together quite nicely with the dark wash. On top of that, you also have glass eyes, which is super cool. Not everybody can get the glass eye look right, but I think Dinomania has perfected it, and they perfected it a long time ago because their glass eyes usually look really cool. Definitely what I see here on this Compy as well. Again, really nice, really realistic and lifelike looking glass eye. And this is at the point of the review where we're going to do something that I've actually never done before in the entire history of my channel. I'm going to reach out to any potential distributors in the United States that might be interested in stocking these, because Dinomania actually resides in Mexico. So it's a little hard to purchase stuff from them, and it's a little hard for them to ship stuff here because the prices would probably be outlandish to ship stuff to the United States from Mexico, especially models of this size. So it's definitely pricey to try to get a hold of them from Mexico because of the shipping costs, and the models as a whole aren't really very expensive. They're actually quite reasonably priced, but the shipping is always the problem. So they're actually looking for distributors in the United States that would be interested in stocking the Dinomania models and then making them much more readily available here for us in the United States to purchase. So if anybody out there is watching this review that might be interested in potentially selling the Dinomania line and helping with Dinomania to increase the availability of these models to, us here in the United States, definitely contact either me or contact Dinomania. I will include some contact information in the description to where you can do that, where you can get a hold of Dinomania and, again, talk with them about potentially stocking their models on your store. So make sure you check the information included in the description. Also contact Dinomania if you are interested in, again, stocking these. If anybody actually steps up and does, help out and begin selling the Dinomania line, I will come back to these reviews and, of course, add the link to where you can purchase these there, or, of course, also let you guys know in general in a news video that you can now officially purchase the Dinomania lines from whoever it is that would be interested in working with them and selling them. So, again, if you do have the opportunity to pick this up, I really recommend the Compy. It's absolutely beautiful, and, again, I really wanted to reach out to anyone here in the United States that might be, a distributor of toys, models, anything, someone that might have a store that they're interested in, selling the Dinomania line, again, to potentially start stocking them and make them much more readily available for us here in the United States. So Hopefully that happens at some point very soon. Make sure you guys let me know in the comments section what you think of this absolutely awesome model, and also like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.